work in the field of quantum photonics in a broad sense. My main contribution is related to the development of novel semiconductor nanostructures or microstructures, which enable a better control of light-matter interaction at the nanoscale. The topic of my PhD work was the growth by molecular beam epitaxy and optical study of short-period superlattices. So novel kind of semiconductor microstructures which were taking benefit of strain, the deformation of the crystal, to engineer their electronic properties. And during this PhD, I also started to work on quantum dots, which also take benefit from strain-related effects to help their build-up. The growth of quantum dots had been fully discovered by accident. And at that time, the distribution of the sizes of the quantum dots was so broad that no one would have believed that some applications could come one day. However, nature gives us spontaneously quantum dots which have different sizes, but which are each of an excellent structural and optical quality. And so, if you keep only one of these dots as emitter, you have one of the most perfect emitters we can dream of in the solid state. They emerged somewhat before the invention of quantum dot self-assembling. The idea came from Arakawa and Sakaki in '82. They mentioned that they noticed that if you consider a quantum dot with discrete levels, if the separation of the levels is large enough, which means if the size of the quantum dot is small enough, injected electron holes will occupy only the lowest energy level. So the dream was to use better injected electron hole pairs in a quantum dot system compared to a quantum well system. So this gave, at that time, great hopes in the direction of the improvement of laser diodes. In the end, these dreams have been, to some extent, not achieved because we never have been able to really build a quantum dot laser which outperforms quantum well lasers because of the size distribution of quantum dots I have mentioned as a problem before. I think that the most important contribution came from atomic physics and quantum optics. It is clear that when we play with cavity QT effects on quantum dots, when we generate quantum states of light using a single dot, we are clearly following the path of Serge Haroche in the first case, and people like Alain Aspect for the generation of single photons or entangled photon pairs using radiative cascades. So this is for me the most significant contribution we benefited from. The work on single molecules has been also inspiring for us at the first stage of the development of single dot spectroscopy. No, not really. I have to say that we have tried at some point to collaborate on SNOM with a very good group in the field. In parallel, we were working with microphotoluminescence, and it never became clear where the advantages of SNOM could be compared to regular microphotoluminescence. The main problem we have faced was the lack of a sufficiently good detector to study single dots. When single molecules were emitting in the visible range, where good detectors were available. For single dots in the near infrared, we had to wait for the introduction of low noise silicon APDs to really be able to analyze the emission of a single dot. What comes first is the development of nanostructures for optics. This is one of the many subfields which nowadays constitute nano-optics. What has been disappointing me from time to time is an excess of hype around expectations. It has been the case at some point for the quantum dot laser. It is the case maybe now also for integrated quantum photonics. I don't think we should promise to build some large quantum computing system. What we can do actually, we can actually develop, introduce novel devices displaying novel functionalities. We will be able to build novel optoelectronic devices working at the single photon level. Emitters, detectors, nonlinear optical gates. Dreaming of a complex quantum computer is a different story and seems to be out of reach. We have to speak a little bit more about conventional optoelectronic devices. What did not happen is the entire replacement by the quantum well laser by the quantum dot laser. There are nevertheless some narrow application markets for which the quantum dot laser could fit. And you have, for instance, a company in Japan which is selling 1.3 micron quantum dot lasers for telecoms. You have also other application prospects, for instance, in the field of light-emitting diodes. It is somewhat indirect, but it has been demonstrated that the very high efficiency of gallium nitride-based LEDs is related to a strong localization effect inside the active material. And in fact, you can think about this device as a device containing tiny clusters, tiny quantum dots, which localize the electron pairs and prevent the diffusion toward defects such as dislocations. And finally, I think that devices such as single photon sources or sources of entangled photon pairs will become interesting in the future. Not necessarily in the context of very complex systems, but for instance for quantum communications, we know that we need at some point to develop quantum repeaters, and for that we need quantum memories and we need very efficient sources of entangled photons. And here I think that we have in hand solutions to address this challenge. I think that we can, there's a lot of promise in the direction of nano optomechanics. I think that we can build novel, optically addressable hybrid optomechanical systems, for instance, for which you couple the mechanical degrees of freedom of a mechanical oscillator with one and only one two-level system. And with this, you can really play with the mechanical oscillator to study the two-level system, or with the two-level system to drive and give some quantum behavior to the mechanical oscillator. This opens very nice perspectives in the field of quantum sensing in particular, and I think that this field is just beginning to blossom.